Welcome to the Fantasy Football Bros Podcast, a podcast where two brothers talk and debate fantasy football. My name is Dylan Wagella, and I'm here with my co-host, Mitchell Wagella.
A.K.A. Wagantula.
The Wagantula. There it is for you. So, first thing I'd like to mention, sorry we didn't put one out last week. We got kind of caught up. We'll try to get them out on a more consistent basis for you. But thanks for listening. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for subscribing on YouTube at the Fantasy Football Bros Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and SoundCloud. Again, shout out to our producer, our brother, Nick Wagella. You can find us under the Split 6 media page on SoundCloud, Podcast Addict, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you email us your questions at fantasyfootballbrothers@gmail.com. Like that Facebook page at the Fantasy Football Bros. Like it, share it, invite it, and keep doing that. Okay? Now it's time for some news. Okay, the first thing, this is a little bit of old news, but we didn't get a chance to touch on it yet. Sammy Watkins was traded to L.A., and Jordan Matthews was traded to Buffalo. Mitchell, what are your thoughts on this? Let's start with Sammy Watkins.
I think that Sammy Watkins going to Los Angeles definitely helps Jared Goff. If he can stay on the field, I think that he could have some decent production as long as Goff has an up year. And it also helps Todd Gurley because they can open it up. Jordan Matthews to the Bills, I think he'll do all right. I think that his production will stay around the same. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think Sammy Watkins going to LA is definitely a help for Jared Goff. I think he'll have a better year. We'll see. I think he could potentially grow quite a bit. We'll see though. I know for Todd Gurley, I think that helps a lot. It stretches the field out. Jordan Matthews to Buffalo. I think at first I was kind of like, well, Jordan Matthews is just Jordan Matthews. There's nothing special to write home about. It's like slot receiver. Plus, Anquan Boldin was there. But the second bit of news we have here is after spending 13 days with the Bills and after a Sammy Watkins trade, Anquan Boldin was retired from the NFL once again. Mitchell, thoughts?
No, I'm going to miss him. I liked watching Anquan play. He could catch the ball through like any bit of traffic. That was probably his best feature. But other than that, it's not that big of a hit. I didn't think he was going to produce like everybody thought he would as soon as Sammy was gone. But either way, sad to see him go.
Yeah, I think that this helps Matthews and Zay Jones, my rookie that I like. My question to you, Mitchell, do you think that Anquan retired partially because they traded Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, probably. It probably played into it. I think that he was probably excited to play with him on the side of him. Hoped he would have a good, healthy season too. And, the Bills just aren't real contenders. I don't see them as real, legitimate contenders.
Right, and I think these trades made it seem like front office doesn't really think they're real contenders either. The next set of news is Leonard Fournette's supposed to sit out the third preseason game. He is expected to be back by the start of the season. He has a foot injury. Mitchell, does this affect your fantasy stock with Leonard Fournette at all?
It definitely is something to look at, but not very much. Maybe move him down a rank, but not too much.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. You don't like foot injuries, especially with a guy who has a history of foot injuries. But, I think they need to rely on him this year because, as you know, Blake Bortles can't throw a freaking pass. He's going to underthrow, overthrow. That guy has no confidence left. The Jags are just a terrible team.
And the coach did come out and say it's an open quarterback competition. Officially.
Chad Henne, baby. Chad Henne.
You could see the Michigan man get back on the field.
He's going to take them to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. Just kidding. Ezekiel Elliott suspended for 6 games. This certainly should affect his draft position. How early are you willing to take Ezekiel Elliott?
I would look at him sometime in the mid-second round. I would consider it.
Mid-second round is too early for me. I mean, he's missing almost 40% or approximately 40% of the fantasy season. There's only 14 games.
Yeah, I think the key on it would just be down the stretch. You know what I mean? If you can get him for that bargain, imagine if you take LaShawn McCoy and Ezekiel Elliott as your starters going into the playoffs. I think it could pay off.
I think it could too, but you got to get to the playoffs before that even matters. And in my mind, that's too much to give. I would take Ezekiel Elliott towards the back of the third round, which is where I'm drafting in a lot of leagues, so I probably won't get him. I've seen him being taken in the second round, early third. I don't think he will fall to me, and even if he does, I'm not convinced the 6-game suspension is going to be lowered because he did file an appeal, but I'm also not convinced that it won't be expanded on because I think there's some other stuff out there about Zeke that we're going to find out. He's been making some noise in the wrong way in the offseason, like young players tend to do. LeGarrette Blount, the news out of Philly is he has some weight issues. Also, Wendell Smallwood might end up being the starter.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that. I'll wait and see, I guess, but I do not see Wendell Smallwood taking this job. I think that Blount will just barrel through for 4 yards every carry and just keep it consistent.
See, I don't think Blount's that good. I think it was more of a product of a system in New England. I think he's okay. He's just kind of big, and I think he's easy to stop. He's not, when he's in there, he's not much of a pass threat. He's a good goal line guy, which is why he had 18 touchdowns last year. But I don't think Blount gets the bulk of the workforce this season. That's it for news. Today might be quite a short episode. We're just going to talk about the top 10 tight ends to target in your drafts. And we'll throw some stuff in there at the end if we feel like it. So, starting with number 1, I think this is not even a debate. If you don't have Rob Gronkowski as your number 1 tight end, you are crazy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He's obviously the best option on the entire board. Not even close.
Right. He is a steal, I think. Especially, I've been getting him in the 3rd round in some drafts, and to me, it's like you're drafting a top 10 wide receiver at your tight end spot. It gives you a positional advantage every week. I'm taking Gronk in the back of the 3rd round all day.
Yeah, see, I express caution, though, just because, he's the best if he's on the field, for sure. But he's not always on the field. He's been showing a lot of, consistent injuries over the past 3 years. And it really just depends how healthy he can stay, but hopefully it's something he figures out.
Does it concern you at all with Brandon Cooks in the offense, or do you think that only helps him?
I don't think it affects his game. He's just such a heavy target when he's on the field. It doesn't matter who else is there. He'd still get the ball regardless. I
am going to make a bold prediction. I think that Gronkowski, some miracle way, maybe Tom Brady starts watering with Miracle-Gro, is going to go a full 16 games this season.
That's a weird, bold prediction just because it's got to be the hardest thing to predict. You know what I mean?
It is hard to predict. I just got a feeling that this is the year Gronk's like, all right, I'm going to stay healthy because it's totally his choice, if you know what I mean, guys. Number 2, who do you got at number 2?
At number 2, I have Travis Kelce.
Here's where we have some disagreement. And because we're talking standard, if it's PPR, I like Kelce at 2, but I got Reed as my number 2, but I'd like to hear your explanation.
Now, I think that Travis Kelce is one of the safest picks as well, but I think that his stock went up after Macklin left. Tyreek Hill's there to take it off over the top, but Travis Kelce's going to be targeted a lot every game.
Yeah, but he doesn't score touchdowns.
It can change. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's scored over 5 touchdowns in his career. He has a lot of catches and a lot of yards, and yeah, he's going to get the ball, but I don't know.
It's more of a consistency thing at this point. this is a position where you have players that score volumes at a time, or they miss heavy time. Like Jordan Reed, for example. He's always off the field. You know what I mean? You can rank him there, but
yeah, I know. But still, when Reed and when Gronk are on the field, there's no one better than them. And I think even if they can give you 10 to 12 games, it's worth it. And I would say it's probably likely that one of the two of them will at least give you that. So I think it's worth especially with Gronk in the 3rd and then Reed probably in the 4th or 5th. I think it's worth the pick in the risk that you take there. Rather than pick some wide receiver that's, maybe a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, you're taking a tight end 1. And maybe when your opponent has someone like, Delanie Walker, you got Jordan Reed out there scoring touchdowns. When Jordan Reed's on the field, he's one of the best players. He might be the best. I think he's more of an injury risk than Gronk is. So,
yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. And I think that's kind of why he was more down my list. Gronk always gets a good chunk of the season in, but Reed has missed significant time.
When Reed misses, it's like he misses a game, plays 2, misses 2. It's more frustrating because you're waiting until right before the game to know. When Gronk gets hurt, it's like he's gone for the rest of the year, and you can adjust accordingly. Jordan Reed's my number 2. I like Washington's offense. I like Kirk Cousins, not Kurt. His name's not Kurt. Just remember that. I'm talking to you, owner of the Redskins. I think Jordan Reed is going to be good. He's like my kryptonite when it comes to fantasy football. I just have to pick him. Well, that wouldn't make any sense. Kryptonite doesn't make any sense there, does it?
He's your kryptonite. That means that he hurts you.
He hurts my team when I draft him because he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah, but the difference is that nobody that is affected by kryptonite wants kryptonite.
This is true. Yeah, that didn't make much sense.
So it's like your drug.
Yeah, that's my drug. He's my fantasy football drug. I usually end up with Reed, and I usually get him at pretty decent value. Number 3, I have Travis Kelce.
I have Tyler Eifert at number 3.
Over Jordan Reed?
I do.
Oh, wow. Someone does not like Reed. I've shared my thoughts on Kelce. What do you think about Eifert?
Well, Eifert's my guy. If he can stay healthy, I think he has almost, if not more, potential than Jordan Reed. I just don't see Jordan Reed staying healthy. But Eifert, he played a decent chunk of the season. He can definitely turn it around, I think, this year. And
you think Eifert? Wait. You think Eifert has a better chance of staying healthy than Reed? Eifert gets hurt every year as well.
All right, but I like him more. I just like the way he plays. He's such a big red zone target.
Reed is a better red zone target than Eifert is.
I think that's debatable.
No, I don't think it is at all.
Yeah, it is. I think Reed has more production coming up the field during the drive, but Eifert's got him on the touchdowns.
I don't think so. I don't think the stats say that, and I just don't. I think that's ludicrous. I think Jordan Reed is hands down better than Eifert. I do like Eifert. However, Reed is the number 1 target where he is. Eifert is not the number 1 target in Cincinnati. AJ Green.
I guess that's a good point. But you also think that Terrell Pryor could take over that number 1 spot, do you not?
I think he'll be the number 1 receiver unless George's on the field. Jordan Reed. George Reed.
George Reed?
George Reed.
George Reed of Toft?
George Reed of Toft. I don't know. Eifert, I got him a little bit down here, but I just don't see it. Him taking that spot. I mean, I get it. A lot of people are. He's a young guy. He has a lot of potential, but I don't know. I think there's just as much risk there.
Yeah, probably.
4, I have Jimmy Graham as my number 4. I think Jimmy Graham will have a great year this year. They're going to have to pass the ball more because I don't think their running game is going to get done for him. They had good defense. He kind of turned it on towards the end of last year. And, it's Jimmy Graham. You can't forget about Jimmy Graham if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I have Jordan Reed here, but, obviously we already talked about him. So I'll comment on Jimmy Graham. I think he's ranked too high in your list. I don't think he's had the production with the Seahawks to really warrant that position. But, that's the point of the podcast so that we can disagree and argue about it.
I think he has, and I think Jimmy Graham's going to prove you wrong. You know what? I'm just kind of realizing this now is that the tight ends, they're kind of like a danger zone where there's a lot of risk involved with almost all of these guys, except for my number 5 ranked guy, Mr. The guy, you know his name, Kyle Rudolph. Number 5 ranked on my list. And this is another one of my bold predictions, is I think Kyle Rudolph is going to have a better year than Greg Olsen. Kyle Rudolph is underrated. Bradford needs to target him. He was finished at number 3 tight end position last year. I think people are undervaluing Rudolph just because of Sam Bradford. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. What are your thoughts?
I'd like to argue that just to pull up some recent stats. Last year he was 840 yards for 7 touchdowns. Year before that he was 595 for 5. So not very great.
He didn't have Bradford the year before last year.
Well, regardless, I mean
that matters.
Because
quarterback matters.
Yeah, it definitely does matter. But he had a decent, competent quarterbacks throughout his career.
Who?
Teddy Bridgewater is competent.
Teddy Bridgewater is not a competent quarterback.
He's a competent quarterback.
I mean, maybe like 20th less ranked quarterback in the league, but sure, if we're going to call every starting quarterback a competent quarterback, he's had some competent ones. I disagree. I think Sam Bradford is better than people think. You know, he gets a bad rap because he just got injured. Like, he played for the Rams, okay? The kid's growing. Jimmy Graham had 923 yards and 6 touchdowns last year, by the way, for the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, did he? He did better than I thought. Well, I may have disrespected him on my list, but that's fair.
Yeah, I think the year before he got hurt, or it was his first year there, he had 605 yards and 2 touchdowns that year.
But either way, I just don't believe in Kyle Rudolph. I'm not going to believe in the tight end position on the Vikings. I think they have better weapons around them that are going to start to come out. Like, Thielen's pretty good, but I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a great year.
If he can stay healthy, I think he will as well. And I like Thielen, too. I just think that in the red zone, those guys are targets, but I feel like the connection that Bradford has shown last year with Rudolph will carry over. And I think Rudolph's being disrespected.
I just feel like there's more mouths to feed now. I mean, they got Dalvin Cook there. And I think that's going to take up a lot of different offensive looks. I think he's going to be very involved very early.
Who? Dalvin Cook? I think so. I think he'll be involved. The tight end it's like the check down guy. You're going to go to him, especially quarterbacks who are still developing, such as Sam Bradford. Who is your number 5?
My number 5 is Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen. What are your thoughts on Greg Olsen?
I think he's going to have a good year. Like I said, I think Cam Newton's going to have a bounce-back year. I really do. So I think that their connection is going to go back up. And, when he threw his MVP season, he had a very good year. So I'm assuming, obviously not that high, but I think he's going to have a good year. I think it's going to warrant him number 5 position.
Yeah, I think Greg Olsen over history has been very consistent. He is over 1,000 yards for most of his years. I just think that this year they're going to kind of change it up. They got McCaffrey there. That'll take away some of the targets. I think Benjamin's going to be better than he has been in the past couple of years. I think that offense still, is going to struggle like they did last year. And he's getting older. So I got him around, I think he'll get around 800 yards, maybe 4 touchdowns. I just think that these other guys will do a little better. He's my number 6. You can't really go wrong with him. He's not going to bust. He's probably not going to bust. He might bust where you draft him. He actually is one of my busts from where he's being drafted. I don't think he's going to be completely terrible. I just think he's not going to reach the heights that he has before. I think this is the start of his decline. Who's your number 6?
My number 6 is also my bold prediction. I think that Martellus Bennett could finish in the top 3 this year.
In the top 3.
So really he's just raising up 3 positions. But number 6 is Martellus Bennett. I think that he's going to develop a connection with Aaron Rodgers. He's too good not to. They've never had that type of quality at tight end. Jermichael Finley was overrated compared to Martellus Bennett stepping in there. He's always been producing. I think he's going to be good this year.
I agree. 6 is too high for me on that. I like Martellus Bennett. I think he has a lot of potential, but I think his floor is also very low. And I'm a kind of drafter where I like to minimize risk. And I think there's a lot of risk coming with that. Green Bay does not produce a lot of top 10 fantasy tight ends. It's just not something they do. Rodgers doesn't exactly love throwing to the tight end. But Martellus Bennett could change that this year.
Maybe he doesn't like throwing to the tight end because he's never had a quality tight end.
I think he's had some okay ones. I don't think Jared Cook was too bad, and I don't think Jermichael Finley was bad. I just think Aaron Rodgers likes to run around and throw outside and throw to his receivers. He's got Doherty Nelson, Randall Cobb, and Devontae Adams. and he's got some running backs now that can catch. So I don't know if there's enough room in the offense for Martellus Bennett, but I'm really high on Rodgers, so I wouldn't be surprised. Those 50 touchdowns I predicted, got to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 7 for me is Tyler Eifert.
Number 7 for me is Delanie Walker.
You still haven't rated Jordan Reed on yours yet, have you?
Yeah, I did. He was 4.
You were 4. He was 4.
Yeah.
You have Delanie Walker. I have Tyler Eifert at 7. My 8 is Delanie Walker. We talked about Eifert, so let's talk about Delanie Walker. What are your thoughts on D-Walks? Jesus Walks.
Too much. I think Delanie Walker is going to have a good year. I think that Marcus Mariota is just going to keep getting better and better. So I think he's going to have even maybe a little bit of a boost in production. He may have finished higher than this last year, but I could also see him having a very big year. I do believe in Marcus Mariota this year.
I almost want to move Delanie Walker down from my 8 spot. He had a really good year in 2015. He had 1,000 yards, 88 yards. I can't talk right now. 1,088 yards and 6 touchdowns. Last year he had 800 yards and 7. I feel like that's going to continue to decline with everything that's been added in Tennessee. He's competing against red zone targets with Eric Decker and Davis and Matthews, and those running backs, there's not enough room in this offense, I think, for Delanie Walker so much anymore. I think he'll probably mimic maybe a little less than what he had last year. So I don't know. He's one I'm not sure about.
I think he's going to keep his production up. I mean, those guys, they all got to come into the fold on their own, but he's not going anywhere yet. Tight ends have pretty good longevity.
Did you know that he played 7 years for San Francisco?
No.
I did not know that either. He didn't do very good. He was always playing behind Vernon Davis, I suppose.
I always forget Martellus Bennett played 4 years in Dallas.
Yeah, I forget about that too. He also used to return kickoffs.
What?
He must have been a squib kick guy.
Yeah,
but he returned 13 kickoffs for 257 yards in 2008.
That's pretty weird.
He has some rushing yards, too. He's 91 career rushing yards.
This is Delanie Walker?
This is Delanie Walker. He never has thrown anything.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but not relevant.
Kind of strange. Not relevant, but kind of weird.
But I guess the rushing yards are.
Yeah, I guess they are, but not really. All right, back to it. Number 9. You got your number 8 out there?
My number 8 is Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
So I disrespected him a little bit on this list, but I had to make room for some other guys. So he's going at number 8 for me.
My number 9 is Martellus Bennett.
My number 9 is Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah.
All right.
And I didn't feel good about putting him there.
You didn't feel good about 9?
No.
I will slap bet you right now Kyle Rudolph finishes as a top 9 tight end. I'll say top 8 because you got him ranked at 9 and you felt bad about it.
Meet me in the middle, top 7.
Meet you in the middle? You're ranking him at 9.
Yeah,
all right. All right. I'll make that bet. Kyle Rudolph will finish at 7 or better. Okay, so 8 or lower doesn't count. Thanks, you just gave me that one. Thank you very much. We'll take that to the bank and cash a check for one slap to your face. I'm going to give you the lefty slap or the righty slap or the backhand. Now I got to shake on it officially. All right, number 10 on my list is Hunter Henry. I think there's a lot of potential here. I like Hunter Henry. I am concerned that San Diego will just try to force feed Antonio Gates and get him the record. But Hunter Henry is next in line. I like Hunter Henry.
I think Hunter Henry is going to be good too. I don't have him ranked in my top 10. I just didn't, I don't like believing in tight ends directly after their rookie year. You know what I mean? They're pretty slow to progress. But
he had a good rookie year, though.
A few years in here, when you get around that year 4 and you start progressing over year after year, that's why I picked Eric Ebron.
I knew you were going to say that.
At number 10.
Ebert.
Wouldn't be right. Wouldn't be right if we didn't have a Lion on the list.
I think it might. But Hunter Henry had 8 touchdowns last year. It wasn't like he had a slow start. He had 8 touchdowns and almost 500 yards playing behind Antonio Gates. And I don't know if Gates can continue to stay healthy.
Yeah, but weapons opened back up. I mean, San Diego was playing with a zombie squad of washed-up players in their offense. And now they're at least all healthy right now. They might start dying off. Except Mike Williams, but they still have Travis Benjamin, Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, and Melvin Gordon. They got a lot of mouths to feed in San Diego. Los Angeles?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers. That's still getting used to that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just don't see him producing as much as people are predicting.
I don't know. Phillip Rivers loves his tight ends. He has spent his whole career basically with Antonio Gates.
But we know I'm not a big fan of Phillip Rivers, right?
I love Phillip Rivers.
Something about it.
He's got a nice, fiery attitude. He's fun to watch. Frickin' this and frickin' that. Frickin' strap the ball.
Frickin' play defense.
Frickin' strap the ball. Frick. He never swears.
Yeah, nice try, 24.
Doesn't he have 40 kids or something?
I think he's got 16 kids. It might be overdramatic. It might be 8. But
he must be a Catholic.
I can see him being Catholic. Just looks Catholic,
How many kids? Let's Google it. He has 7 children.
7 children. So I was pretty close to 9.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah, he be doing it.
He be squeeby. Let's look.
So did we get any emails?
No, we still haven't gotten an email, guys. I think this one, you guys are dropping the ball on this, our listeners. Ask us a freaking email. Come on.
Ask us an email, guys.
Ask us an email. Send us an email. fantasyfootballbrothers@gmail.com.
I know it's a little confusing because the name of the podcast is the Football Bros.
That was taken, though.
So we had to get brothers. So that is the fantasyfootballbrothers@gmail.com.
Yeah, I think I've been leaving out the. Maybe everyone's been sending emails to just Fantasy Football Brothers.
Or maybe there's only 10 people that listen to this.
Probably. Well, for now. Until you share it with your friends on Facebook and YouTube and SoundCloud and Podcast Addict.
Well, Dylan, how about this? How about you tell me about any sleeper tight ends that might be out there?
All right. I got some sleepers for you. I got 3 of them. First one is a very deep sleeper, and someone you're going to want to watch throughout the season, and that's David Njoku in Cleveland. Word around town is he's going to be one of the best tight ends to come in the future of the NFL.
Isn't he also ranked 3rd on their depth chart, though?
Maybe for now, but it's Cleveland, and it's David Njoku. So, and he's got a fun name. You can say, I got Njoku. I kind of want his jersey just because I like his last name. My other sleepers are Austin Hooper. I think we saw in the playoffs what his potential is in Atlanta. I think he's building a rapport with Matt Ryan. And my last one is Julius Thomas in Miami. I think that he has potential. We've seen what he can do. And Jay Cutler likes to use his tight ends, if you guys remember Zach Miller.
Yeah, and Martellus Bennett.
And all this. Those are my sleepers. Mitchell, what about you?
I would say watch out for O.J. Howard coming out. I know a lot of people are saying that he's probably not going to, and they're saying the opposite. Well, I wanted to say I think he might. I think Jameis Winston's going to have the best year of his career.
Who's their starter right now?
Cameron Brate.
Yeah.
And I think he's good, too. I just think that he's, he was projected to go in the top 10 of the draft as a tight end for a reason. He's definitely going to get that production out there. Other than that, the other sleeper that I was looking at was Jared Cook in Oakland. Watch out there. David.
Well, his brother is David.
David. Derek Carr never really throws to his tight end. Not often, at least. But I think that Jared Cook could get along in that offense. I think he'd be a nice little addition piece in there. Maybe he could squeeze out a top 12 finish.
Njoku is third on the depth chart, but he's a very deep sleeper. Maybe more of a dynasty target. Maybe I just like his last name. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I just like David Njoku.
What are you thinking about busts?
Evan Ingram, I think, is also another person to watch, and the Giants.
I think he's a bust.
You think Evan Ingram's a bust? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to have a bust for someone who is, not ranked very high. You can't say that a guy who's not going to be drafted is a bust because he's.
Well, he was drafted because he was drafted high. Is what I'm saying. A bust for his actual draft position.
Like an actual, not fantasy terms, just.
Well, I mean, just this year in general. I think that he could have a good career in general, but he got to face off with Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, and OBJ for targets. I just highly doubt that he's in use that much.
When looking at the top 10 tight ends, my two bust candidates and the ones that I'm probably going to stay away from, despite my rankings, are Greg Olsen. I think Greg Olsen's going to be a bust. People are drafting him too high. Sometimes I've seen Greg Olsen come off second, and I think that's just ridiculous. And then my other one is Delanie Walker. I think Delanie Walker is in a crowded fantasy offense this year, and I think we've seen his decline. I wouldn't draft either of those guys if I could help it. But, if they're still there come around 11, 12, which they won't be, I would take them there if I didn't already have a tight end. But I'm probably trying to target one of those early tight ends. Mitchell, your bust?
I've never understood why people like Zach Ertz. He's always ranked within the top 15, but does he ever really produce there? If he does it very underwhelmingly. I would stay away from Zach Ertz. He's ranked 10 on Fantasy Pros, and I don't agree with that.
The last 2 years, he's had over 800 yards, and he's caught about 80 balls. He just hasn't had that touchdown production. I mean, last year, he played almost as good as Delanie Walker.
I guess, but...
And I think I almost think he could have a better year than Delanie Walker. I don't have him on my top because I'm not huge on that team, their offense, or Carson Wentz, as a lot of people are. I think Goff could actually have a better year than Carson Wentz, especially now with Sammy Watkins. But, Zach Ertz isn't really on my radar in terms of someone I'm trying to get. I'd rather take a shot on Ebron or, maybe even like a Jack Doyle.
Yeah, see, I mean, so this one, he's ranked number 10 on the tight end, so I'm putting him down a decent amount from that, just like maybe 6 more rankings. I just don't like Zach Ertz. He's had some decent stats these last 2 years, but he's never had touchdowns, and that's a big key too. So for fantasy.
So let's move on from tight ends, and let's have like one more topic here, and then I think we're gonna call it a short episode for you guys today. I wanted to talk about, is there anyone that over the last couple weeks has been creeping their way up your rankings in your draft board? Because we've talked about all the positional rankings, but we've done it over a course of several weeks, Mitchell. Anyone who's maybe, whether they're doing in preseason or just what you're hearing from camp that's making you move them on your draft board up or down?
I mean, I think Kenny Galladay in the deepest leagues maybe has moved up ever since his preseason debut. I think that he could put up a decent year, and especially if you're talking dynasty purposes or anything along those lines. But other than that, not too many. I mean, I think there's the rookie quarterbacks are looking good.
There's a couple things for me. So the first one is I just drafted Spencer Ware yesterday in the draft, but the way that Kareem Hunt has been playing in preseason is making me worried. The reason I drafted Spencer Ware is because he just fell unbelievably far. I'm talking like 9th round. So I was like, all right, I'll take him here because I feel like it's good value. But Kareem Hunt is looking better and better and better, and I'm starting to worry that that's going to be Kareem Hunt's job come around week 4. What are you thinking about that situation?
I would not be that surprised. I think we both had, Spencer Ware in our top 20 pretty high, right? Like 15?
I believe so.
So, I mean, I don't know. We might come to eat those words pretty fast. I've been watching them, all the highlights and stuff, and I'm definitely impressed.
And then another person that I'm getting pretty psyched about, but I still don't have the cojones to draft him, is Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is looking good. He's getting all the first team reps. This whole talk of him not making the team is nowhere near that anymore. Kyle Shanahan's there, but as you guys know, I'm a little bit bigger on San Francisco's offense this year than a lot of people are. But I just saying, if Carlos Hyde drops to me in round 6, I'm probably taking him.
When I do my mock drafts,
even 5 or 4.
Like I'm saying in like round 4, that's when he starts getting suggested to me by, the general consensus of expert ratings. So I don't know though. I just can't ever pull the trigger. I end up taking like a Travis Kelce or like a higher named wide receiver and stay away from him just because I just feel like he's toxic. He's never been healthy for a whole season and produced really.
Right. Well, when he plays, he's really good. The talent's there. The talent's there. He just gets hurt. I don't know. I don't know if I can draft him, but I think he's going to be good, and I might regret not drafting. Another player for me, just off the top of my head here, and I've kind of like been shouting him out a lot, is Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones, now with Bolden gone and Watkins gone, is going to be their number 1 wide receiver on an offense that can hang, and I think he's probably going to have the most production from a rookie wide receiver this year.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
Who else? Who do you think would have more from a rookie wide receiver spot?
Well, Zay Jones, you're talking Buffalo, right?
Talking Buffalo.
Well, he's got Jordan Matthews there.
That's it.
Yeah, but still, he can definitely be a number 1 on the team. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. That's really hard to predict who's going to be the best rookie wide receiver. But, if I had to take a shot, I'd probably say, like, Corey Davis.
Yeah, I think Corey Davis is the highest ranked, but I just think that Zay Jones is the second ranked. So, and then there you got John Ross, Curtis Samuel, Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, Kenny Golladay. Those are the top ones. But I just got a feeling Zay Jones is going to have more fantasy points. I'm not saying he's going to be a better player, more fantasy points than Corey Davis will. I think there's more opportunity. Fantasy is always about volume. Always. And there's going to be more volume there. Is there anything you would like to leave him with, Mitchell?
No.
Wow. A nice, exciting finish from the Fantasy Football Brothers. We'll see you next week or maybe the week after that because we don't know when we're putting these out. No, stay tuned. We're going to start breaking down stardom, sit-em, streamers. We might do a fantasy football advice piece next week. We'll let you know. Tune in next week. Subscribe.
All right, guys. I will see you later. And we love you.
Love you.
Baby back.